Thanks, Chris. All right, good morning. And it is Saturday. We have West Boston again today, and he's going to go ahead and talk about some sports betting and some money management as always. And I'll just turn it over to him. Thanks.
Good morning. Couple things I want to hit. I want to revisit some things that we talked about last week, and I now have some a little bit more supporting reasoning behind some of it. Last week we touched on fantasy football a little bit, and how those statistics and that thought process doesn't necessarily tie into a winning wager. It may work in fantasy, but I'm just going to give an example. I text people all the time, and it's football season, so that's what I do. And I had a friend send me a message talking about Giants Steelers, and this friend was fully ready to bet on the Giants. And when I said, I'll always ask because I'm interested in everybody's thought process. I might learn something. And, why do you like the Giants over the Steelers? Well, the response I got was a list of all their players. Yeah, but they have Saquon Barkley. And she started naming players on the Giants and pure fantasy outlook. And, I'm just thinking about the Steelers defense, the quarterback, how bad the Giants linebacker core is. And obviously we all know the outcome. The Steelers won. I think they won by 10. They covered the spread. And, that's just another example of the fantasy mentality just not tying into the sports betting. If you want to do a DraftKings on that game, do it. But keep yourself off of the points on games like that. So I wanted to bring that up because I think that it's important because your fantasy performers don't have any impact. A good wide receiver, I don't even think is worth a half a point in Vegas. I don't know how Vegas comes up with their numbers, but I just want to make sure I wanted to get that out there and just revisit this fantasy versus sports investing. So last week we talked a lot about the strategy, what we're doing. This is what we're betting. And then, so right now, week 2, we should all be taking our winnings, and 25% of your winnings that's your press number for this week. And the rest of the money should be sitting aside in a bank, either in a cash out or sitting in the account. And, that's the cash in the portfolio. Going into this week, as I said, last week we chose 12 games because there's a lot of uncertainty out there. And I wanted the impact of a loss to carry less weight on an uncertain week. And, as I said, this week we're looking at 8 to 10 games because we're a little bit more comfortable. We know what's going on. So with 8 to 10 games, right now I say 8 to 10. There's 8 picks I posted, but there's another 2 that I'm looking at that might make 10. But that 25% press now carries more weight on a per game wager because it's only 8 games. If we were doing 12 games again, it wouldn't be as big of an increase per game. So, to talk about the picks a little bit, I'll share information with anybody in a direct message about how I got to what I'm picking. But I want everybody to understand these picks that I'm putting up. That's my base position. That is, I want everybody to think about that as, we all play the stocks. I mean, that's what brought us all together. So, my base position last week went 5-7. Now that's a losing week. So I looked to these live bets. And so while we started with 12 games, I ended up placing 25, 24 games worth of action. So I doubled that base position to find a way of winning. Rob and I were talking earlier, and we all have a base position in stocks. And then we look to the options as kind of our money making, our trading position, or some of these live bets. Think about that as you're just buying more stock only to take a trading position, while the base position, those are the picks that we're long on, and long in the football betting world. I mean, that's a 3-hour game. So with these live bets, I want to encourage everybody, go through some of these games and look at what you want to see drop. Write it down and watch the games. If you're going to place these bets and walk away from them, you may find a win, but I would encourage you to watch these games. And I'm just going to use the Oklahoma State as an example. Some of these, I like Oklahoma State to cover the 24. But if you watch this game, if Tulsa scores even a field goal before Oklahoma State puts points on the board, that 24, that spread's going to drop. It might drop to 20, it might drop to 17, but any drop, we still like it because we liked it at 24. No different than a stock year long on dropping. So what I'm looking for in that game is any drop in that 24 points. That's I'm adding to that position. I'm keeping it the same even number. I'll always preach the even betting, but I'm gonna add to that position at every opportunity, and then eventually watch it go up. So this Oklahoma State, I might have 7 bets within that game. There's a lot of opportunity in these live bets. So map that out, and that's part of why you hold a certain percentage in your portfolio, just like in the stocks, as cash, ready to just buy when the price is right. When you find that dip, we all talk about the dip and the pullback. Well, that exists in these games. So the live bets in most cases, last week's a good example. I posted 5 and 7 for my base position, but ended up 14, 8 and 1 because all the live betting, all the good opportunity that pops up, and you will catch some of these sites slipping. A couple of years ago, it might have been a year ago, when DraftKings was trying to figure out their sports book, they posted some 40 to 1, and a kid won like 40 grand on a $500 bet, and there was a almost a lawsuit about the whole thing because it was a mistake, but he found it, he bet it, he screenshotted it, and they had to pay it. So
Hey,
there's things.
Wes,
Yeah,
I know we get a little excited on this, and I get a little bit on the opposite too, and so just so everybody understands, like on in play or live betting, why don't you explain that to people? Because a lot of
sure.
people, you just see the line, you're like, and I'll
Yeah,
explain. Let me explain it. So like
go
Cleveland,
ahead.
for instance, uh, -6 was a bet. I had $1,500 and I lost to 1,500, right? On the bet -6, they lost by, or they won by 5, but it was -6. But I won a lot of on in play or live betting on the game, so I ended up making it back on stuff that we talked about, just chatting back and forth. But why don't you explain how those bets come across and like how it actually works? Because a lot of people don't understand that that actually exists.
Yeah, of course. So you go on to the same app. I use Bovada, but whatever app you use, make sure when you're signing up for a sports account, you use one that does live betting. But if you log in, there's usually a button you push to get you to the page where there's live bets, and if you click on it, it'll expand all the different in-game wagers that are happening. So these prices move up and down just like Wall Street throughout the game, and um, and you just bet. I mean, the overall game, the spread can change. There's bets within a team over, team under. I look to that a ton because you can feel the game and you can get ahead of it. But you just place wagers within the game, and they change constantly. A buddy of mine was watching the Bengals Browns the other night, Thursday night, and he ended up in the game getting the Bengals for +11. So the original spread of the game was 6. So he just got free money, and he ended up winning the game, because the Bengals closed the
Well,
gap.
six was good, but what you told me before is when we talked about it is you go off the first score, right? So underdog, you get the first score, and then
Yes.
all of a sudden it changes the whole spread completely. And
Yeah.
so
So
you
that's
might as well not even bet the original spread. Wait until the first score, and then go in game betting or live, whatever you want
that
to call it.
That's exactly it. So exactly what happened on Thursday night is since he scored first, they got a field goal on the first drive. Well, that 6 point spread no longer exists. It I think it went down to 3.5. So if you're a Cleveland bettor in that situation, well, now there's even more value, and you didn't have to give anything up for it. All you had to do was watch the game. It doesn't always happen that way. If Cleveland had scored first, say they scored a touchdown, that 6 probably would have gone to 13. And at that point, you got value on the other side if you were a Cincinnati bettor taking the points. And it's important to watch with live bets because there's in a lot of cases there's more money to be made than the original position. So I look at that. That's a very profitable way, very powerful way to even yourself up. You could go 4-1 on the same game and have your original base position be the loser, but you found value within that game. And Rob and I have done it a dozen times in the last couple weeks, just talking about that. The other thing I want to get into is buying points, teasers. I want to talk about that a little bit. Most pages have an option if the spread is 7.5 and it's a minus 105 payout. So minus 105 for anybody that doesn't know, minus 105 means you're going to get $95 on a $100 bet or 95 cents to the dollar. If you take the option to buy the half point, so you don't like 7.5, you're going to buy it down to 7. In most cases, that payoff now is going to go to minus 125, minus 130. So at that point, you're returning 70 cents to the dollar. And but you feel better because you bought yourself a half a point. What is very difficult to look at. So we're looking at a game at 7.5. And if I buy that half point, which in many cases that's the right move, but if I buy that half point, I'm now taking less of a payout. The win has a much lower impact percentage wise. It's almost like a 0.75 win rather than a full win to the week's portfolio. So you got to take a good hard look. If you don't like 7.5 and you want to buy that half point to 7, that probably means that you like the underdog and the points rather than laying the 7 points or the 7.5 and buying the point. And if you find yourself to where you don't want to bet the underdog because you're not that comfortable, but you don't like the 7.5 and you want to buy the half point, you should probably walk away from that game. At least I would. If I find myself struggling to choose, because just think about it. If you want to buy the half point at 7.5, that means you like the underdog. That means you're on the other side of it, and it's a hard thing to look at because some of these games, it's just going to be a blowout. So either take it for what it is, or you don't. A teaser, at least on my site, in the case of a teaser, you can buy 6.5, you can buy 7. So but you have to put it together. So you have to go with the over under, and you have to go with the original spread. So I'll just use the Oklahoma State, and I don't know what the over under is, so I'm just going to call it a 60-point over under. I know I'm wrong, but I'm just going to call it that for the sake of the example. So 24-point favorite, 60-point over under. If I want to tease it, that means that I now will get Oklahoma State and 17. So they only have to lay 17, not the 24. But it now turns into a parlay because instead of the 60 over, it's 53, which looks good, but you got to hit them both. So now I've taken 2 potential wins, and I have to hit them both. You have to go 2-0 on that in order to even get it, and it probably pays the same thing. So in a tease, I try and stay away from teasers because I don't want that to be my sole position. If you feel like you have to tease it, well, you probably like the other guy then. Same thing with the over under. If you feel like you like 53 better than you like 60, well, that means you like the under, and don't give back any profit or create a way to lose in that scenario. I will buy half points if the original spread or the original odds, I'm sorry, is plus 105, even money. If buying the half point brings me to minus 105 or even minus 110 to where it's still a legitimate payout, I'll buy the half point in that scenario every single time because it didn't cost me anything. But if it's going to bring me down to 135, 130 to where it's 60, 70 cents return on the dollar, it's just not worth it. That means I like the other guy. I mean, is everybody good on that? Does it make sense? Are there any questions on it? Because I know I've just touched on a lot of different things with these teasers and buying points.
I think we're good, man.
The other one I want to hit real quick is you got to play the parlay, but you can't have the parlay be your base position. It can't be an even money bet. If you're betting 5 games, and let's just say you're going to bet, your intent is $100 investment on those 5 games. Instead of betting, yep.
They said you're explaining things very well.
All right, good. Thank you for that.
And you have a few people on here, so you're doing good.
Well, thank you for that.
Positive feedback's always good, right?
I'm into it. Well, I don't want to over-explain, but I want to make sure that I'm giving enough information to the people that are novice and just getting started. So what I'm going to say with the parlay is I will never, and everybody has to choose their own investment, but what I will never take a parlay as an even bet. So on an example of $100 5-bet portfolio, instead of betting 20 on every game, bet 19. Okay. What that's going to end up doing is you got $19 on each one of your games. And then the remaining $5, bet a 5-way parlay. So you don't get burned. But if you go 5-0, and you will go 5-0, everybody on this call is going to go 5-0 at one point. Everybody in this call can pick them. I don't claim to be the best picker on earth. Everybody on this call is probably just as good as me at picking the games. But if you go 5-0 on this on picks and you don't have that parlay, that 5-way parlay, for $5, if I had to guess, I think it's probably going to pay $200 or $300. Last week when I laid my action on 12 wagers, I put a $1 parlay on it was a 12-way. I'm not going 12-0, but if I had a great week and I went 12-0, that $1 parlay was going to pay $2,200. You'd be pissed at yourself if you didn't lay that $1. So you got to play a parlay, but for a very, very, very small fraction of the position. What I'm doing today and tomorrow is I'm doing my college picks, and I'm playing a small parlay of college. I'm doing the NFL and a small parlay of NFL, and then I have one big one in case I go undefeated. I won't. I mean, the best undefeated I've ever gone was 9-0. I've never gone 14-0, 13-0. I mean, that's just, if you can do that, you should be in a different business. But so I mean, that's kind of what I got for the week. Or do we have any questions coming in, Rob?
I do want to talk about cash out at the end of the week.
All right. Well, I would say, what I do is I cash out every Monday, no matter what. I cash out, and you got to set that number, and it can't be $1,000, $100. It has to be percentage based on the total of your portfolio. So what I recommended last week was you take your winnings and you reinvest the 25% of your winnings to press your bets so that you're constantly moving forward and the value of your portfolio is going up. And then the remaining 75%, you do with it what you wish. I would recommend taking that 75% and pulling some of it out, pulling a good chunk of it out. You can either take it out of the account or just tell yourself it doesn't exist. But I'll take cash out from that, and I'll still leave money in there because I want my cash percentage of the portfolio to go up along with the investments. You have to have cash in the portfolio, and it's no different than what we're doing Monday through Friday. If you don't have cash in the portfolio, you can't jump on a crazy stock drop, on Monday if you got no cash because it's all sitting in stocks. So you got to sell something in order to get there. Well, in sports betting, you can't just sell a couple shares. You got to wait for the game to be over. And if you don't have the cash sitting there, you may miss one of those juicy live bets. Last week, I caught Clemson at 16.5 points, over 16.5 for the for the first half. It was the bet of the year. Um, I didn't have a ton of money in the account. Uh, I had it laid out, and I caught myself in a situation where I would have I couldn't even place a full bet on it, is what I'm saying. And you can find yourself there if you don't leave cash in the account. So you got to determine what you want to pull out of the account and how much you want to pay yourself and how long you're willing to wait. But you have to pay yourself every week. Even if you pay yourself $5 and you $5 yourself all the way back to money being back in your checking account or wherever you keep your money. Um, but the other thing, we have crypto experts on this page, and um, I don't know how everybody does it. I take cash out through crypto because it's instant. Um, what I struggle with, because I don't understand crypto, I don't have the time to understand it, but some of the experts on this page, they know what's going to happen in the week to come. So I don't know. I know they post a lot of outlooks, but specifically Bitcoin, I don't know if they have the time, but if they can get the crypto outlook for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, um, for all of us, it might be worth. Don't take the cash out on Monday. Take the cash out on Tuesday, because Monday you're going to lose a couple percent on it. Or do you take it out and flip it into a different crypto, because you might gain a couple percent before you actually roll it into cash? But as far as cash out goes, like I said, you got 25% reinvested, and you take that other 75%. You do with it what you want, but I would caution you, if you're going to take all of that 75% profit out, if you're going to find yourself cash poor on a Saturday or a Sunday, because you won't be able to jump on live bets if you do that. And if you can't jump on live bets, now you're trusting your base position, which that could be a loser. My base position lost last week. It was 5-7, and if I didn't have even a little bit of cash, I'm waiting until games are over in order to get back in. And at that point, I probably have a jacked up mentality because I missed this. So now I'm going to jump into the wrong thing harder because I got FOMO.
That FOMO is dangerous too, and for anybody who's getting into the betting scene, is you start seeing people posting things like and you catch a game like, oh yeah, this spread was 7 or something like that. Oh well, yeah, it's 7.5. That's okay. I'll jump on that. Like, don't, like, if you don't, like you were saying before, if you don't feel comfortable, don't get in on it. 7 to 7.5 half points can ruin you on that. Just last night, when I saw the Lakers pulling away big, I was like, oh man, I jumped on the 21. There's all $10 bets because they're all small, and it's to win by 21, to win by 18 to 20, and then the last one was to win by 14 to 16. If they would have won by 14 to 16 when I get on it, I put a $10 bet out. I a $10 bet. I was like, oh my god, here we go. And what happened? That last 3 seconds, they let the guy drive right in the lane, do a little layup for 2 points, and they only win by 12. So those half points or stuff like that can really. So don't jump in just thinking, oh, I missed this part here, but a half a point doesn't matter. Half a point matters a lot.
Yeah, and he's right. Everything he just said, and I would add to that with the whole FOMO. And all these live bets that I'm talking about, this is not, oh my god, I'm a if you're betting $10 a game for the week, you're staying there with the live bets. You're not going to bet $20 on a juicy live bet, because again, that's 2 losses. It could be 2 wins, but that's 2 losses. We're trying to protect ourselves. So if you're jumping on a live bet, I would encourage you to keep with that same even betting. So whatever your number is this week, hopefully you're pressed by 25% from last week, and but you keep it even, because you do not want any you don't want any bets to cost you a loss bigger than what it is. And to his point with the FOMO, it's mentality. We're all gamblers. We all love what we're doing. We all want to make money. We get aggressive. We're not going to accept a loss, so we're going to come back stronger. Well, if you have FOMO on a bet, and then you turn around and you go into the next one hard, it's human nature. I'm not going to bet $10 on this one. I missed out on the last one. I'm not going to get screwed. I'm going to bet $50 on this one. Well, guess what? You just created 5 losses. You created 5 losses because of your FOMO and this odd mentality that we all have to just win and be hungry.
All right. That's good. Well, Jesse's in bed. That's why he came in kind of broken and unreadable.
That's awesome.
So I don't know. We're trying to be a professional website here. I don't know. But
Yeah.
anyways, talk a little bit about a little bit more about the Bitcoin cash out and specifically maybe without mentioning names, but how you can maybe make some more money on the cash out.
Well, you can. You just have to have that Bitcoin knowledge. El Jefe, Jazz, these guys know. These guys know the crypto. I mean, they break it down to a place that I'll never be able to understand. Uh, but with that knowledge, cashing out at the right time or not cashing out at all, waiting a week and knowing that you're gonna have a bigger cash out next week if you play the crypto the right way, that can be beneficial. And if you really need the money, I mean, if you really want the money, you might consider the wire transfer option, which I think there's a small fee, but that small fee might be better than that. That might be better than getting into an uncomfortable risk type scenario with the Bitcoin if it's unknown. There's also most pages that they can pay through PayPal or they can send you a live check. It takes a little bit longer, but I'm probably going to be leaning more towards some of the live checks, just having to do with tax purposes, because I think Coinbase now sends out a 1099. I'm not really sure how to play that. That's probably a question for a tax guy, but I mean the cash out matters too. You could have a great week and give back 10% just on the wrong time of withdrawal, and I've been there too, and that's, you basically lost a game because you cashed out at the wrong time. So I think the power comes from these crypto experts we have in the group.
Yeah. And then what? So what site are you using right now?
I use Bovada. And I'm not advocating for one site over another. I tried to switch at one point, just
Well, that's because you
because.
don't pay any taxes when you use that.
Well, I prefer the overseas because I can handle the taxes as I wish. I want. I want a DraftKings on Sunday night. And it was, again, I won't bet primetime games, but I'll throw $3 at a DraftKings. So I won one and paid $600. It was pure luck. I don't know anything about it. I just did it, and who cares? That's not why I'm bringing this up. But when I went to cash out the 600, they, by law, I guess, they had to refund $25 to the deposit method, which there was no deposit method. It was free. But then they sent me a check for $430, and it's like, you got to be kidding me. I'll pay my taxes. I'm never gonna walk away from that, but I'm gonna do it my way. Now I got a 1099 to deal with, and I got to go collect that. And so I prefer the offshore. I prefer non-US based pages for the wagers. I've used Bovada for years, and I've accumulated so many points that if I were to switch, like, I looked into switching because some of these pages have really good welcome points. I would tell you, if you're not in a situation where you've accumulated all these points and seniority, you can use these betting pages just the same way you could credit card jump. You can switch credit cards just to get the bonus miles for joining, and then ditch the account and move to another one, and that you can really benefit that way. A lot of these pages have a 50% match on your first deposit, and there's a lot of good offers out there. I'm just too far in for so many years that I can't switch. The one place that I looked to switching, they wanted to cap my deposit, and well, I got no use for that. I'm not going to do that. You're going to cap me at $200. That's not the kind of investor I am.
Yeah, I get that. So the cool thing about this is, in like in trading in general, most people think we're just gonna say, "Oh, bet on whatever 6 points." Just take that bet. That's a good bet. That's not even what we talk about. We never even say that stuff. You know,
Well,
any no, and this no. Let me finish. This goes back to what we talk about, Wes. Any idiot can bet on whatever and make some money. That's fine, but it's more of the money management and how to structure stuff and how to actually make money through it and then if not, and then how to structure it and even make it through Bitcoin, and then transfer it and get it back to you, so you actually have money at the end of the day.
Yep.
It's the whole thing. It's not just making money on a stupid bet and then going and blowing it at a bar. We're not unsophisticated people here, right?
No. And to your point, I'm happy to talk picks with anybody. I'm not claiming to be the greatest picker. I'm just trying to give everybody my opinion on how to manage that portfolio, and that's really what I'm trying to do. In fact, last week was a good example of how to take a lineup of picks that were losing and flip it around and win. And I'm looking at the comments coming in. So Hefe wants to talk about those damn bets. It was pure luck. It was pure luck. I'm not a fantasy guy. I threw $3 at something and just simply got lucky. That's all it is. And I believe that that's all fantasy is, and you can get lucky on it. And I'm looking at defenses. I'm looking at O line versus D line. I'm looking at history against each other. That's how what I'm looking at. I'm not looking at is Odell Beckham going to score a touchdown. I got no use for it. It just doesn't win for me. So Hefe, it was luck. And then the other one.
That's like the guy trying to guess the color of Gatorade. Remember, like for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, they're fun. But the other one that just came in, Elliot is saying bookmakers offering 100% match on Bitcoin deposit. I mean, that's a good offer to jump on. That's a good offer to jump on. And everybody on this call, what works for me doesn't necessarily work for you, and that's okay. That's why we have this group, so we can all collaborate. I don't make my deposits through Bitcoin. I make my deposits with a credit card because I'm willing to finance my losses. And that's just the way I approach it. And I want the credit card miles for the deposit. So that's how I do it. But everybody do it their own way. 100% match on Bitcoin, that's worth a look. You're going to deposit $100 and get another 100. Make sure you read the rollover details. In many cases, you have to roll over 20 times, 50 times before you can actually withdraw it. In certain situations, I've actually just forfeited the bonus because I wanted to take my withdrawal.
All right, cool. So we're about half an hour. Any parting thoughts or any questions in the group? That's for you, but
I'm good. I mean, we touched on a lot of information. I hope that everybody is able to take it and cash some tickets, and send me a message if you want to. I mean, I'm glued to the TV and the phone. I mean, for me, the opening bell is in 29 minutes.
all right, tell me real quick about this college betting stuff.
Well, in what way?
Well, you haven't talked much about it. You're mostly NFL stuff, so.
Well, college is hard to play. I like some underdogs this week. College is still hard, and I think it's going to get harder. So I'm leaning more towards the NFL picks because I think that this past week told us a lot. You can pretty much take home field advantage out of the equation, while Vegas is still giving the home team minus. They're still giving them 3 points. So that's there. That's something to consider. But as far as college goes, it's weird. It's going to get weirder in a week or two when the SEC starts playing. It's going to even get crazier when the Big Ten starts playing. So college is not very predictable. We're sitting here. We're looking forward to Marshall against Appalachian State. I mean, this is not a normal college football scenario. They're not traveling as much. And again, I think you could take the home field out of the equation, other than the traveling. So, I mean, that's pretty much it.
Got it. All right. Well, I appreciate it. I don't see any other questions, so we'll just end it at that.
All right. Have a good week, everybody, and let's cash some tickets.
Happy trading.
Yep.